Netflix has been dropping so many movies lately that it's getting harder and harder to figure out what's actually worth your time. You've got the big trending titles, the flashy new releases, and then you've got the movies that quietly sit there waiting for somebody to click on them. And that's what today's list is all about. These are 10 movies currently on Netflix that range from action blockbusters and survival thrillers to horror movies and fantasy adventures. Some were huge theatrical releases, others flew completely under the radar, but every single one of them is worth checking out. Starting with my bottom pick, Apex, 2021. Now, I know some of you are already rolling your eyes because yes, this is one of those later-era Bruce Willis movies, and let's be honest, that period of his career produced some pretty rough films. But Apex is actually more entertaining than its reputation suggests. The setup is simple. Bruce Willis plays a former cop serving a life sentence who's offered freedom if he can survive a deadly hunting competition on a remote island. Basically, imagine the most dangerous game mixed with a low-budget sci-fi action movie. Now, don't go into this expecting John Wick-level action. You're not getting that. What you are getting is a fun survival thriller where a bunch of arrogant hunters slowly realize they've picked the wrong guy to chase through the wilderness. It's not perfect, not even close. But if you're browsing Netflix late at night looking for something easy to throw on, Apex is a surprisingly decent watch. Number 9, Box Barcelona, 2023. Some of you probably watched Bird Box when it became one of Netflix's biggest hits ever and then completely forgot this movie existed. Which is a shame, because Box Barcelona does something smart. Instead of simply repeating the story from the first film, it shows the same apocalypse from a completely different perspective. The atmosphere here is fantastic. Barcelona becomes this eerie, deserted nightmare where nobody can safely look outside without risking death. What I really liked about this movie is that it's darker than the original. It takes some unexpected turns and explores parts of the mythology that Bird Box barely touched on. Now, is it better than the original? Probably not. But it's definitely more ambitious, and if you enjoyed the first movie, this is an easy recommendation. Number 8, The Mummy, 2017. Okay, hear me out. This movie got absolutely demolished when it came out. Critics hated it. Audiences were mixed. Universal's entire dark universe basically collapsed because of it. But years later, I think it's a lot more entertaining than people give it credit for. You've got Tom Cruise running from ancient curses, massive supernatural set pieces, creepy undead creatures, and a genuinely intimidating villain. The biggest problem is that the movie spends a lot of time trying to set up future films that never happened. But if you ignore all of that and just watch it as a standalone adventure movie, there's actually a lot of fun to be had here. It's weird, it's messy, but it's never boring. And honestly, I'd rather watch a weird movie than a forgettable one. Number 7, Spenser Confidential, 2020. Mark Wahlberg has made a career out of playing guys who get dragged into trouble when they really just wanted a normal life. And that's basically what happens here. Spenser Confidential follows a former police officer who gets out of prison and immediately finds himself investigating corruption, murders, and conspiracies. Now what surprised me about this movie is how funny it is. The chemistry between Mark Wahlberg and Winston Duke carries the entire thing. One minute it's a crime thriller, the next minute it's almost a buddy comedy. It's got some good action, some decent mystery elements, and it's one of those movies that moves fast enough that you're never checking your phone halfway through. Netflix has released a lot of action movies over the years. This is still one of the better ones. Number 6, Apostle, 2018. Now we're moving into much darker territory. Apostle is not the kind of horror movie that relies on jump scares every 5 minutes. This thing is slow, creepy, unsettling, and increasingly disturbing the longer it goes on. The story follows a man infiltrating a religious cult on a remote island after his sister is kidnapped. And the deeper he gets into the community, the stranger things become. This movie reminded me a little bit of classics like The Wicker Man, not the Nicolas Cage version, the original one. There's this constant feeling that something is horribly wrong. And when the movie finally starts revealing its secrets, things get absolutely insane. If you're a horror fan and somehow missed Apostle, fix that immediately. Number 5, The Mother, 2023. Jennifer Lopez surprised a lot of people with this one, because The Mother could have easily been another generic Netflix action movie. Instead, it's actually pretty solid. She plays a former assassin forced out of hiding when criminals target the daughter she spent years protecting from a distance. What works here is Lopez herself. She commits completely to the role. The action scenes are strong, the emotional moments land better than expected, and the movie keeps a nice balance between thriller and family drama. Think Taken mixed with Hannah. If that sounds appealing, you'll probably enjoy this one. 4, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, 2023. Now, I know the DC movies have been a bit all over the place lately. Some have been great, some have been, let's just say, less great. But one thing I've always appreciated about the Aquaman movies is that they fully embrace how ridiculous and fun their world is. And Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom continues that tradition. You've got Jason Momoa back as Aquaman, and honestly, he's still the biggest reason these movies work. The guy just has charisma for days. This time around, Aquaman has to team up with his imprisoned half-brother to stop an ancient power that's resurfacing from a long-lost kingdom. The story itself isn't particularly groundbreaking, but that's not why you're watching an Aquaman movie. You're here for giant underwater battles, massive sea monsters, ancient civilizations, crazy-looking weapons, and enough visual spectacle to make your television feel like it's hosting a theme park attraction. It's colorful, it's goofy, and it never takes itself too seriously. Sometimes that's exactly what you want on movie night. Number 3. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, 2017. You know, when Hollywood announced they were making another Jumanji movie, I think most people assumed it was going to be terrible. I certainly did. The original Jumanji is a classic, so turning it into a video game adventure sounded like one of those ideas that looked good on a whiteboard and nowhere else. But then the movie came out, and somehow it worked really well. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle follows 4 teenagers who get sucked into a mysterious video game and transformed into their chosen avatars, which means you've got nerdy teenagers trapped inside the bodies of people played by Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan. And honestly, Jack Black steals half the movie. The comedy lands, the action works, the characters are surprisingly lovable, and before you know it, you're having way more fun than you expected. This is one of those rare reboots that completely justifies its existence. Number 2. Mortal Kombat, 2021. I grew up playing Mortal Kombat, which means I grew up watching people get frozen, electrocuted, punched through walls, and occasionally turned into skeletons. So when they announced the new Mortal Kombat, I had one simple question: would they finally get the fights right? The answer is yes. Absolutely yes. The movie isn't trying to reinvent cinema. It's not trying to win awards. It's trying to deliver brutal martial arts action featuring some of the most iconic video game characters ever created. And it succeeds. The rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero alone is worth the price of admission. Every time those two share the screen, the movie comes alive. The fatalities are here. The powers are here. The fan service is here. And unlike a lot of video game adaptations, this one actually feels like it was made by people who enjoy the source material. It's not perfect. Some characters get more attention than others, but when the fights start, none of that really matters. Number 1. Those Who Wish Me Dead, 2021. After all the monsters, superheroes, and fantasy adventures on this list, my number 1 pick is actually the most grounded movie here. And that's Those Who Wish Me Dead. This movie completely flew under the radar when it released, which is surprising because it's directed by Taylor Sheridan, the same guy behind Yellowstone, Sicario, and Hell or High Water. And you can feel that tension throughout the entire film. The setup is simple. A young boy witnesses something he shouldn't. 2 professional killers are sent to eliminate him, and the only person standing between them and their target is a smoke jumper played by Angelina Jolie. Now, that alone would make for a solid thriller. But then the movie throws a massive Montana wildfire into the mix. So suddenly you've got assassins hunting a child through burning forests while a wall of fire is consuming everything around them. It's relentless. The tension never really lets up. The villains are genuinely intimidating, and Angelina Jolie gives one of her strongest performances in years. What I love most about this movie is that it doesn't rely on giant action sequences or CGI spectacle. It's just a well-made thriller that knows exactly how to keep you on edge. And by the time everything reaches its explosive conclusion, you'll probably be wondering why more people aren't talking about it. That's why it's my number 1 pick. And that's the list. Which of these movies have you already seen? And which one are you adding to your Netflix watch list tonight? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next countdown.